I'm Rob Isham, and I'm your Stewardship Chairman this year. From your perspective, either I drew the long straw or the short one. Included in your bulletin is a message from me on behalf of our committee, and I apologize for its length. There seemed to be so much to say in getting to the real message, which is, as we do every year, this time of year, in a relatively short period of time, we gather most, if not all, of the operating income needed to run this church and its programs for next year. We do this successfully every year, but it's not an insignificant challenge, and I thank you deeply for your past support and in advance for your consideration and generosity this year. To try to determine a bit more about how you all and we think about giving, we conducted a survey this summer posing 3 short questions. For those who did respond, thank you again. They were most illuminating, and a short summary is attempted in the insert. As my mother used to say, turnabout is fair play, and I thought it only right that I share with you my response to the survey. I will be brief. So the first question was, what draws you to the church, and what is it about the church that you find important or of real value? Well, that's the value proposition for you business people. I answered it slightly differently. Why am I here, and what keeps me here? Well, first, I'm a lifer, if a somewhat unintentional one. I was baptized and confirmed in this church. I had my face slapped by the bishop right at the altar that used to run here. I'm not sure what that was about, but my friend next to me got struck even harder, and that was a good thing. My sister was married in the chapel that used to run along the side on the north. Most of my female cousins were married here. Many of my family were buried. I used to pass the plate in grammar school. I don't know why that got started. It was a good thing that it ended. My grandfather, who my grandmother was really worried about, sat about midway on the right-hand side there. And when the plate would come back and he'd hand it to me, he'd hold on to it and tug on it in a mock tug of war, much to my consternation and much to his amusement. Let's see, 2 of my 3 boys were confirmed here under Alan Gates. George, my 3rd son, apparently had a higher calling, AAA hockey. I eulogized my mother from this pulpit 20 years ago after she died from a hit-and-run accident. I listened to Clark Groove from here, his famous homilies and exhortations. They sounded just like a number that I heard in boarding school. I marveled at George Counsel's saintliness, and for the first time ever, I read the Bible almost all the way through with Jay. Judith married my son last winter. I think he may have moved from atheist to agnostic, and that's what I call real progress. So I'm a lifer here with a lot of memories and hopefully some spiritual DNA. What keeps me here? Well, I find this church more increasingly a place of renewal and spiritual education, and that means education of my spirit, which is sorely in need of it, especially when I don't think so. I'm beginning to understand the liturgy dimly. I revere Don's music and the 2 great choirs that show me another powerful, sophisticated, and beautiful way of worshiping. I treasure Evensong and Compline, and the bell choir is spectacular. And I'm comfortable with the parishioners, which that means you're comfortable with me, many of whom I've never known before. The next question was, what's been important to me in determining the amount of my financial pledge to the church beyond my own personal financial situation? Well, let's call a spade a shovel. It's really about my own personal financial situation. I hope it's that way with you. I confess I'm very secular when it comes to writing a check. I hate to do it. Alan promises me that it will deepen my faith. Maybe that's why it's so difficult. I think I'm better as a dutiful contributor. I was brought up, I think, like many of us, to support our organizations, institutions, our schools, hospital, a botanic garden. Why not my church? So in the past, I've approached my pledge as part of everything else Nancy and I are committed to, a portion of our philanthropic bucket. And when the income was significant, the pledge increased and vice versa. So it's not scientific, it's arithmetic, but it's never an insignificant sum to me. Looking forward, the third question, what needs to happen to increase my pledge? This was a stickler. This is how you feel about the church and about yourself and maybe whatever is going on here right now. Survey responses were illuminating. There were a number that had comments, criticisms, where parishioners said our church maybe wasn't living up to their expectations. A lack of financial transparency or fiscal prudence, a disagreement with direction, a feeling that there are too many ministries supported, maybe we could get better ones, a desire for more inspiration from this pulpit. We all want more. I want more. More is better than less. That was that commercial from AT&T a few years back. But right now, I don't think I need it. I need to bring it, as the athletes say. I need to bring it. I need more heat on my fastball. I need more grit in the corner. So I come up with the puck, especially during this time of political, economic, social, and geopolitical unrest and insecurity for all of us, young families and older ones. Especially here where we see the demographics in terms of fewer young families attending church, much less this one, where we see the demographics in our own generational giving, older givers giving more. I'm not really looking for leadership. I'm not looking for direction. I know what needs to happen. You may not agree with me, but I have a sense of where I'm going. So this is relatively simple for me right now. Nothing really needs to happen for this church to deserve or justify an increased pledge from me. I see the need. I see the need for financial stability and growth in this church. And I see the promise. So I'll reach a little deeper to support this church because I know it's the right thing to do, especially now. I hope you do too. Thank you for your past commitment. Thank you for your generosity. And thank you most of all for your patience in listening to me this morning. I'm blessed to be part of this, our church, and with you. Thank you and amen.